Good evening. Thanks for joining us. It was a wild, tense night in BC politics that went into major overtime. Now, nearly a week later, we still don't know who won the election. And Elections BC says we'll have to wait until next week at the earliest to know who will take the reins of power. CTV's Rob Buffum joins us live from Victoria. Rob, before the election, officials were promising the new electronic tabulators would bring results in faster. So what happened?
Well, that's a very good question. As you know, mi-jung, it was a very late night, and Elections BC says those digital counters did count the ballots that night faster than past years, but because there are so many different ways you can vote here in BC and because of a delay until final count, it can take longer here to come up with those final numbers.
The story of the night is that it's a story that's not over.
It was a nail-biter of an election Saturday night, too close to call for hours.
So you're telling me 1 or midnight tonight, so there's a little Halloween candy over here.
5 days later, there's still not a declared winner in the BC election.
Just kind of waiting on the edges of our seats till they make a decision.
Elections BC says it has 65,000 mail-in and absentee ballots to count, starting Saturday, plus 3 riding recounts, 2 because it's so close and 1 partial one for a possible error, and likely won't be done all that until sometime Monday.
Kind of frustrating. There needs to be some way to pull that in and make it more efficient and streamlined for sure.
Digital tabulators produced results faster on the night, but the absence of them in some ridings, the option to vote outside your own riding, deadlines for mail-in ballots right up to 8 o'clock on election night, and a delay before the final count mean British Columbians won't know who their government is for more than a week after the big night.
BC's system is unique, but one of the benefits of that is it is very accessible.
The digital counters rolled out for the first time in BC for a general election didn't come off seamlessly. In Surrey Cloverdale, a lost password halted the process midstream. And frustration with the overall process, slower here than other jurisdictions like Ontario, could lead to changes.
We'll produce a full report of the Chief Electoral Officer, looking at what went well, what could be improved, and potentially the Chief Electoral Officer may make recommendations for legislative change.
Adding to the tension, this race was incredibly tight. The NDP seemingly holding the slimmest of leads.
The surround, the mathematical surround, is such that this is the closest election in BC history.
Of the recounts, 1 is a riding with a mere 20-vote NDP lead, and another 10 seats could conceivably change hands with mail-in and absentee ballots.
Got 2 parties virtually tied in seats, virtually tied in the popular vote.
And a province waiting to see which one squeaked out a win.
So, Rob, we know 4 recount requests were actually denied because there was no evidence of error. So tell us more about the thousands of mail-in ballots. That number has grown.
It has grown. Initially, we heard it was 49,000. We've heard today that figure is 65,000. That includes about 16,000 absentee ballots. So there's only 20,000 votes separating the 2 parties province-wide. We've heard also that tomorrow we'll find out the vote distribution. So, for example, how many hundreds of those votes in each riding. If it's a close race, for example, Juan de Fuca, where there's only 20 votes separating those 2 candidates, if we learn tomorrow that there are, say, for example, 500 or 600 ballots still to be counted there, you can imagine on Monday morning there will be some very nervous NDP supporters. Mi-jung.
Yeah, tense time for those candidates waiting for those results. Thank you, Rob.